Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Sid Says, where Sid will be telling you all the latest transfer gossip news with regards to Tottenham Hotspur. And today I am joined by Stuart Gallop. Good afternoon, Stuart. How are you?
I'm good, Sid. I'm good. How are you? Another sort of week done in the life of being a Tottenham fan. We've made it through another week, just about.
Absolutely. You know what? It's one of them, innit? Every single day, every morning, you pick up the phone, you pick up the newspaper. Who we're linked with? Who we're linked with? And the main topic of conversation at the moment is: has Romero? Is he coming?
Yeah.
When is he coming? You know. What's your thoughts on that one?
I'm more confident than I was a couple of days ago. It's an absolute head wreck. This transfer, because like a couple of days ago it seemed like it was all falling apart and everything was really negative, and then you've seen a few bits of stuff being talked about by Romano and some of the other Italian journalists saying it's happening. Atalanta have signed another centre back from Verona, so that maybe paves the way for them to sort the deal out. I'm hoping it's just time. It's just a matter of time to get the deal sorted out, not a if anymore. It's just when. But yeah, we've got other stuff we need to do. So hopefully there's multiple deals being worked on.
Yeah, totally agree. Just before we move on, ladies and gentlemen, if you please like, subscribe, share, and also leave your comments underneath. If you've got any players that you reckon Spurs should be looking at, just drop the names in there. I'll have a look, and on next week's shows we can discuss these players. But I think we've gone through majority of centre-back, strikers and midfielders at the moment. I myself are running out of players as well. But if you think of anyone, just drop us a name and we'll look into it. So let's get straight into it. You know what? Every week we've got a Wolves player, and we've got another Wolverhampton Wanderers player today, and that is Pedro Neto, 21 years old, a left winger, 5'6". My main concern again with this one is he's a left winger. Is there anyone that can replace Son? No. So if he can't play left wing, where are we going to play him?
Yeah. It's another if that is one that happens, is this again that sort of dreaded work that's being done to counter Kane leaving, because Son is going to move into the central position, playing as a 9 or a false 9, and then we'll have more need for more wide players. So you'd end up with Hill and Neto on the left, and then Bergwijn and Moura on the right, with Son down the middle with Scarlett or another striker that we might get in. Could be the approach that we're taking. I do think that obviously where they primarily play is obviously he's left wing, and so was Brian Hill when he's signed. But a lot of these guys, from what the bits of content and Neto we've seen a lot of, and I really rate him. He's someone I've always sort of been excited by watching him when he's played for Wolves. Yeah. And the fact he's only 21 is insane. I've always thought he was older than that. So that could be another good one for the future, but also someone who's got first team Premier League experience, which is something that's very hard to find at a good value. So I think if that happened, I wouldn't be against it. But like we all know, it's where does that sit in the priorities? But if
is there something else I can help with?
Sorry, Siri keeps taking over.
Yes, Siri, can we have Sergio Romero, please?
Yeah, Siri, where's Romero? I'm going to start turning my watch off when I come on here now. So I think if Neto is another piece of the post-Kane puzzle, then there's a little bit of a downer to it. But if we end up going towards the sort of approach that Man City do, where they don't have an out-and-out striker, they have a sort of a front three that effectively rotates across that attacking area. Yeah. I'm not against that, because it's worked. It's proven to work. So it's just whether it ends up happening before or after the defensive signings that we need. So
he's one of these players, right, that if you talk to people, they'll say, Pedro Neto, he's been phenomenal for Wolves. Liverpool were linked with him. I think Man United were linked with him.
Yeah.
And the one thing that everyone forgets, he's only 21. It looks like he's been in the Prem for a good 4 or 5 seasons, you know?
Yeah.
And his quality, every time he's played, like when he's come on as a sub for Wolves, or even if he started, he's been phenomenal. He's been absolutely brilliant.
The thing is with him, he's played nearly, looking at his last 2 seasons, he's played almost all the games. So like you said there, he's played 35 times last season, and he played nearly at least 30 league games the season before. I mean, his appearance to goal ratio for an attacking player is still relatively low, I would say. But he's 21. So that's the thing. You know, I don't know many players at that age that are in. Well, this is the crazy thing. The only player that I can think of off the top of my head who's been in Spurs that hit high double digits as an attacking midfielder was Delhi when he was in his prime.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think players that are coming in and they're hitting between 5 and 10 goals and similar numbers in assists at 20, 21, I think, you know, if all of our attacking players were hitting those numbers, then that's not bad behind whatever your main striker's putting in. So, he's definitely one to look at. I don't know if what his injury record's like. I know he got an injury last season, but you know, it'll be interesting to see if that's just a bit of a one-off, because we don't want any more Lamellas.
No, absolutely. But you know, in all fairness, right? 5 goals, 6 assists, and he didn't, like you said, he was injured for a while. So for me, if the inevitable happens and Kane goes, we've got Son to go up top. Yeah. And if he plays on the left and obviously shares it with Hill, I think we'll see even more of him, because no disrespect to Wolves. I think he done all right at Wolves, but Wolves don't have the quality of players going forward as we have. They don't have a Son. Yeah. They don't have the Mora, Bergwijn on his day. And Delhi obviously behind him. I think if we did get him, I mean, £31 million is not bad for a 21-year-old. But again, it's one of them Daniel Levy questions. Is he going to pay £31 million? I know Nuno will go knocking and say, look, I've had him for 2 years, 3 years. I know what he is and I want him. But it's just a question of, we've got 3 left-sided players. Can we utilize all 3 in one game? I don't think we can.
No, I don't think that would be. I think that would. You're not going to use all of them at the same time. I don't think, are you? You know, we know Bergwijn. It can sort of predominantly be used his right foot, so he can be properly deployed as a right-sided midfielder. Same with Mora. So you know, if you're looking at the more natural left wingers, Hill, we know absolutely does that, because he seems to very much like actually staying out on the left and using his left foot to cross in and attack with. And from the same with Neto, really, he does strike me as a bit more on the side of a natural winger. And I think again, like you said, it's having that right combination of players around him, because just checking on his injury, he picked up his injury at the start of April. So, you know, that sort of hindered Wolves towards the end of a season where they already lost a load of key players. So I think when Jimenez got injured, I think that disrupted their whole front line. And I think Neto probably suffered from that as well. But like I've said before, he does not look like a player who's 21. He looks like he's mid-20s, and he's been in the league a long time. So anyone we can get that can come into the team and hit the ground running, where they don't need a 2-year bedding in time, like Lo Celso, like Ndombele, where we're still not seeing them at their best after all this time, they're the sort of players I think we need if we're going to sort of do we all know there's a rebuild, but it's like none of us want to see a rebuild that's going to take years. If we can try and really hit that process quickly this season, then that's great. And, you know, we all know that Nuno had a knack of finding really quality players, and if he can bring any of those over from Wolves to Tottenham, Neto is definitely one of the ones that would be at the top for me.
Yeah, sweet. We'll put that one on this burner then. Let's see what happens with that one. The next one we've got is defenders. Obviously, with Romero coming, hopefully. Rumours of Sanchez leaving. Toby's gone. Dyer, maybe not. Tandanga going. Well, they're looking at Galatasaray. So next one I've got on my list is Alessio Romagnoli. I don't know if I've pronounced it correctly, but centre back for AC Milan, 26 years old, is 6 foot. There's a lot of talk about this guy. I've seen him play, and I rate him. Good defender, but again, it's 25 million. But the only snag for me is his age. He's 30 years old now, so is 25 million a bit too much for a 30-year-old?
I have him down as 26. That's a bit of a difference in age, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, no.
Yeah, it's 26.
Sorry, no. I'm looking at appearances. Sorry, he's 26. Yeah, sorry, 26. 26.
Yeah, I think because he's one of those guys that I think, because when I dug into him a bit for this show, I'd seen him a couple of times in European games that I'd watched, but I haven't obviously seen much of him in Serie A because I don't get to watch much of that content. But he seems to be again like another typical Italian-based centre back who, like, you look through his appearances for the last 5 or 6 seasons, and he's averaging 30 appearances, so he doesn't pick up injuries, which is a big tick for me.
Massive.
It sounds like he's a left-footed defender, so we need a left-footed centre back by the sounds of it, and he gets goals. I don't think he got many last season, but if anyone, it's just contribution, isn't it? If you're going to contribute an odd goal or assist here and there, it all adds up. And at 26, I think that's a good age, especially if he's partnering a younger defender like Romero or something like that, or even Rodon. That's the sort of thing we need. We need someone who's been in a tough league for a long time for centre backs, and I think Milan as a centre back and playing that many games, I think he'd be great. Whether he's on Paratici's radar, who knows? But they're sort of starting to come back into the mix now, Milan, aren't they? They're sort of becoming a bit of a force again. So it'd be interesting to see whether that's one that we could do.
I don't think he's on the. I don't think. To be honest, no one knows who's on Paratici's list. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think he's actually on his radar. I think Milankovic, Romero, they're the main two. Yeah. But he's not. He's just an option out there. It's another one ways whether AC Milan are going to be willing to let him go. And I mean, 25 million valuation, right, for a 26-year-old who, like you said, consistently playing in Serie A. I don't think it's going to be 20. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot more. I reckon 35 plus. Yeah,
I agree. Because that's the thing. It does seem that Paratici's strategy at the moment for this summer, at least, is going for players who. I mean, I know the Romero deal just seems to be really complicated because of his loan status, at Atalanta, but he's owned by Juventus and all that stuff. Yeah. But he does seem to be focusing on players who are within the last year of their contracts or going into the last year of their contract. And I don't think that that's the situation with Romagnoli. I think he's one that's probably 2-3 years or something like that. So he will cost more money.
Exactly. I think he's one of them where if we can get him, if we can negotiate, but apart from that, I don't think he's going to leave. So we'll move on to the next player. This one's a striker. Now, I only heard about him yesterday and the day before. To be honest, the team he plays for, I had to Google it a couple of times before I even found out who it was. And it is Saimi. He plays for FC Croton, 29-year-old centre forward, 6'4". But what impressed me about this one is last season, 39 appearances, 20 goals and 3 assists. And this is the best thing, 7.2 million for a striker who's banging in goals left, right and centre. As a second striker, for me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
I agree. Like you said, I think Crotone were I can't remember if they were in. They're like they were a promoted team last year.
I think they got
looks like they are.
Yeah.
So for him to be scoring 20 goals for a newly promoted team in Serie A is really, really impressive. And he does seem to be the guy that, because we always seem to be linked with, or for the last couple of years we have been signing like these tall, not massively mobile forwards, the sort of Son or anti-Kane sort of thing. And Simon seems to fit into the Llorente and Vinicius type mould of striker. But like you said, for someone who's actually been scoring that many goals in that league with not that great a team, and he's under 10 million, like I think you said 7.5 million or something.
Yeah. It's
like you say, I mean, it's one of those ones where sometimes you're paying that sort of money for a loan deal.
Absolutely.
So if you can get him in on a short 2-year deal, maybe, or something like that, because he's 29, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that one. I don't know a lot, like you say, I don't know too much about him. I'd probably have to dig around and take a look at some of the goals. But again, it gives you something different, doesn't he? And I think you do need that in a team sometimes, like that aerial threat, just to maybe win a couple of headers towards the end of a game where you need to try and grab a goal, or someone to help with defensively at the end of a tight game. Yeah. He's not that bad, an option, and that does seem to be the sort of deal that I would see from someone like Paratici, because he knows Serie A. He watches all the players by all accounts and stuff like that, so he will very likely know this guy and the attributes that this guy has.
Absolutely.
So he'd be one that if that was one that Paratici brought in, I'd be like, okay, it's not the sexiest name in the world, it's not like this well-known striker like a Belotti or something like that, but I would give it the benefit of the doubt to sort of see how it goes.
Exactly. He's 29 years old.
It'd be great for the European games, I think.
Yes, definitely. He's 29 years old, right? So that is like the top end of a striker bracket. So if we're even, I know there's a lot of rumours about Vlahovic at the moment, and I believe we're going in for another bid. 21-year-old, 29-year-old. That for me is a perfect combination, because you've got one coming. I mean, he's not coming to the end of his career, but he's firing on all cylinders. You've got a youngster who's firing on all cylinders. So hopefully you put them two together with Son, maybe Hill on the left. It's going to be an interesting, and like you said, Paratici this guy's playing in Italy, so he will have his contacts out there, and he's been informed. Because when I read about him yesterday, there was a lot of good talk in the paper, and they were saying that he's been on fire. His strength, his heading, he's supposed to, they're basically saying he's been absolutely phenomenal. So it's
do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a Jimenez.
Yeah.
You know, he's because the time when Jimenez was really firing was when, you know, they were using their wide players at Wolves and they were delivering it into the box for him to either finish it with his feet or he'd bang a header in. I think, you know, if you're going down the road of playing with natural width again, whether it's more a Bergwijn, Hill, you know, whoever on the left, as long as you've got good delivery coming in, then he'd be the sort of person you'd want on the end of it. And I think, like I said, if we're going to try and compete across multiple tournaments this season to try and win a trophy or two, then you do need another sort of quite built striker, because it's just something that you need in those sort of games, I think. So I think Simon, I'd be very amazed if he didn't jump at the chance, because when else in his career now would he have a chance of playing in the Premier League?
Exactly.
So it does seem like a really sensible deal. So, like I said, one that I wouldn't be moaning about if it happened.
Yeah, I mean, we've had Janssen over the years. We've had Vinicius last year. Both of them didn't get enough time, obviously, because Kane's been on fire. But now with Kane coming into his sort of injury periods every now and then, 7.2 million for me, it's not a lot of money.
No.
If he does well, even in 2 years, if we sell him, you probably end up getting your 7.2 million back anyway. So he's another striker added to the options of list that we've created over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Great.
Before we move on to the last one, everyone, please, just like I said before, like, subscribe, and share. The more shares we get, the more likes we get, and the more subscriptions we get. Paxton Road TV and at Sid Spurs, it'll be brilliant for us. And all the players we've mentioned today, if you've got any information on them, or if you think they're good enough for Tottenham, leave a comment below and we'll pick it up. Now, for the final one, I've gone for another defender, because that's what we seem to be doing at the moment, looking at defenders. Now, you mentioned the name and I looked at it, and the first thing that came to mind was Batman. Oh, sorry, wrong one. It's not Batman. However, we could do with Batman at the back.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Superhero, but sorry, let's go with Botman. That's the one, not Batman. Sven
His
Botman.
alter ego.
Alter ego. Yep. Actually, that is his alter ego. 21-year-old Lille centre back, 6'3". I've heard of him. Over the last couple of seasons, there's been a lot of links. I think not only with Spurs but with other teams.
Yeah.
To be honest, at 21, it's just one of them. He's had a lot of experience, but we don't want to be having too many 21-year-old, 22-year-old centre halves because Sanchez came in quite young. Tanganga's quite young. Rodon's young, and you can't pair him and Rodon really if you're going to think about it. We need that partnership where we've got somebody in the 25, 26 and a 21-year-old. So my only concern with this one is if we get Romero's 23,
I think.
23. So would this be an option as a 21-year-old, or is there better options out there? I mean, looking at his stats, 47 appearances last season. So he's another one. For his age, he's made a lot of appearances. Yeah.
I think that's the thing about Botman. He seems to be a bit like De Ligt, where he's progressed very, very quickly as a defender and, built this really, really strong reputation. He's come out of the Dutch league just like De Ligt. And then, whereas De Ligt went to sort of Juventus, Botman's gone to Lille. They've obviously won the league last year. He played a key part in that. They were very, very hard to break down. Some of the guys in our chat can attest to that because they follow a lot of the French football. Like you say, I think there is a little element of risk where if we're going to, because Tomiyasu, I think, is 23, 24. Romero's 23. You're talking about Botman, 21, Rodon's 21, 22. You've got a lot of youth there, the younger end of the spectrum. So there is risk, but also for me, the exciting thing is that if that works, then you've got centre-back partnerings that are potential to last a number of years. So you've almost got multiple versions of the Toby and Jan partnership that can last through. You could have one partnership that could take you through the Premier League, and then you could have another partnership that could take you through all your cup tournaments. So that could work really, really well. My only worry about Botman is, would he do a De Ligt and come into a league like the Premier League, which is a much more intense league, a lot more quality, and sort of plateau a bit? Because that De Ligt didn't have a great first season at Juventus. Totally different players, obviously, but Botman's one that I've not seen loads of him, but bits of him that I have seen. He looks really solid, and he's like I say, he's building up that really, really solid reputation. So again, if he's available, I can't imagine him being a huge amount of money coming out of Lille, because
25 million.
That's in the current, Arsenal have just dropped 50 million on Ben White. Ben White. So if you can get him for half that, I think that's an absolute steal. And I think French football is actually in a bit of a financial mess at the moment because one of their big TV deals has fallen through. So all of the clubs are financially struggling because of that, and obviously COVID as well. So I think that could be one of those opportunities where if you go in with the right offer, maybe this is one where we do offer some kind of exchange or
Sanchez
part deal or something. Something like that, and just say, look, get him in there. So that would be one that I would, alongside, I'd want him to be an addition to a Romero and Tomiyasu, not an alternative. But if he came in alongside a couple of other defensive reinforcements, wow, I'd be very excited about that.
Yeah, because at the moment, Romero looks like 95% nailed on. Tomiyasu looks 95% nailed on. Maybe he's 97% nailed on. So we've got two coming in. Now, as a third option, then even like we're looking at Milenkovic, Botman. There's a couple of others out there that as a third option, we can bring it. That's the third centre-back that we bring in. But my only concern is the ones that we're looking at, they've all had like 40, 35 appearances every season consistently. Are they willing? Are they going to be willing to come to Spurs? No Champions League football, the National Conference Cup football only, right?
Yeah.
He's just won the French title. So are they going to think, you know what? Are they going to do a Koundé and think, you know what? I want to go to a team that's like in the Champions League. I don't want to go to a Spurs. But then on the flip side, it could only be one season. Next season, we could be in the Champions League.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Romero's effectively walking away from Champions League football for Tottenham, you know.
Exactly.
So I think it can happen. I think certain players, that's all they want. All they want is Champions League football. And Koundé seems to be very much in that mindset where he'll only go to a team that's in the Champions League. That's up to him, you know. Fair play. But other players, they see the potential of where they can go, and it's still the opportunity to play in this league. And if that opportunity passes you by, you're not necessarily guaranteed that it's going to come back round again. I mean, Botman's 21, so he's got a long few years ahead. So who knows? But like you said, you know, because each of the guys that we're talking about, you know, Romero, Milinkovic and Botman, like you said, they've all played 35, 40 games. Unless we're going to play a back three where they're going to be the three centre backs, you know, and then you have like a Rodon and Tanganga as the sort of backup defenders. I can't imagine any one of them is going to be happy to be the guy that's going to drop to the bench.
Exactly.
So you know that could, if that ends up happening, that might be the first signal we have of what the overall intention might be for the formation. But we've not seen it up to now because all the pre-season games have been a back four. But that could just literally be personnel. So that'd be interesting.
I think what it's going to boil down to is, like I said, we'll get the two that we wanted. The third one is just going to be a matter of what Daniel Levy and Paratici think in terms of, I don't even think they're going to look at age, or it's just going to be who's going to be the cheapest that we can get and who's going to be willing to rotate, not demanding first team football all the time. So that's the 4, including Botman, 5 for this week. Thank you very much, Stuart, for coming on. Where can people find you, Stuart?
I'm on Twitter, Creative SKG on Twitter, and then you know I pop up on Paxton Road every now and then when you guys let me. So
absolutely.
That's where you'll find me at the moment.
Wicked, we love your input every time you come on Paxton Road TV as well. So I'm sure they've penciled in for you some more. So that's that for this week. Join me on Monday, where hopefully we'll have some more signings, and I will try and get some more transfers, players, if there's any left that I haven't covered. But in the meantime, have a lovely weekend, and up the Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Yep.